YouTuber Mark Slapinski, in his own words, is getting dogpiled on YouTube. This for a recent video that he put out where he renounces his support for the Freedom Convoy, denounces the movement as a whole, and even goes so far as to call Tamara Lich and Chris Barber fake patriots, proving once and for all that conservatives are not immune to Trump derangement syndrome. This is going to be a weird one, guys. Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Johnny Says So. And I gotta be honest, guys, this is the last thing that I want to be spending any of my time talking about this evening. I think there's other important things going on that are more deserving of my time. But this one, unfortunately, I can't ignore. Now, I'm not a big fan of takedown videos in general. It's not something I'm interested in doing because I feel like, in this space of conservative, libertarian YouTubers and influencers, there's so many more productive conversations we could be having than endless bickering and infighting. But Mark Slapinski is the one who decided to put this video out, and I just think it's so egregious that I can't ignore it. So he says, I'm getting dogpiled on YouTube for this video, but some things need to be said. Unless conservatives, voters, influencers, politicians do a major course correction, they'll never win an election in this country. And you can see in the thumbnail here, guys, he's got Tamara Lich with an arrow pointed at her that says, fake patriot. Now, that's an insane thing to say about somebody who's potentially facing a 7-year prison sentence for the crime of standing up for regular Canadians who saw their charter rights trampled all over during the insanity that was the COVID regime. Now, without further ado, I want to get right into this video, which I have actually saved in case Mark decided to delete it. But as of right now, it's still up.
I have a confession. I no longer support the Freedom Convoy. However, it's not for the reason that you think. Today we're going to talk about what changed my mind about the Freedom Convoy movement. Now, to preface this, I am a conservative and I am a patriot. I was actually at the protest on 2 separate occasions as a journalist, for a total of 8 days. And for the most part, not all of it, but for the most part, I supported the protest, I supported the movement. I didn't agree with everything, didn't necessarily agree with the Nazi flags or the Confederate flags. I didn't see much of that when I was there.
So right off the bat, he's already contradicting himself. On one hand, he's saying that the people carrying these flags are a part of the movement, and on the other hand, he's saying that he didn't see much of it while he was there. Now, it's of my opinion, at least, that the people carrying these flags were purposely put there to demonize the movement. But that's neither here nor there. Even if these people were genuinely part of the protest, the fact remains that people didn't want them there, and they were generally chased away almost as quickly as they got there. I want to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Now, this is right in front of Parliament. This is what happened when somebody in a mask showed up with a Confederate flag. Watch this, guys.
Now he's going. Now he's gone. We called him out. He knows. He's going to hold his head in shame now.
Look at that, guys. Absolutely radioactive. That guy glows in the dark, and nobody wants a part of it.
Didn't agree with that, just want to throw it out there. And I also didn't agree with people blocking international borders. Now look, I'm on your side here. I truly believe a lot of what we heard about the Freedom Convoy was misrepresented by the mainstream media. I understand that even now, it's still an important cause for a lot of people.
Misrepresented by the mainstream media, and now apparently you.
I, just for the record, was double vaccinated. I wore a mask most of the time, and I followed most of the restrictions. However, I'll also acknowledge that after 2 years, it was time to move on. After 2 years of some of the most intense COVID restrictions in the Western world, it was truly time to move on. Now, as someone who was double vaccinated, I didn't really have too much stake in the vaccine issue.
Okay, so somebody who was double vaccinated who didn't have too much stake in the vaccine issue. So obviously Mark here took it willingly, and that's fine. So he's telling me that he doesn't have much empathy or understanding for people that were forced to make this decision under duress of losing their jobs, like Chris Barber and Tamara Lich, by the way. Unbelievable.
However, one thing I liked about the Freedom Convoy was that people were patriotic, or so they claimed to be. They were waving the Canadian flag. The Canadian flag became a symbol of resistance against what people saw as the tyrannical Trudeau government. We'll come back to that later. Now, there was actually 2 reasons I moved away from the movement, which we'll get into. Now, my issue was not necessarily with the protest itself. A big part of the problem is what happened after the protest and how the influencers and organizers conducted themselves. As you remember, in late 24, Donald Trump was once again elected to be the President of the United States. Shortly after that, he started talking about tariffing Canada and annexing us. And in case you forget, I'll show you a clip.
You said you were considering military force to acquire Panama and Greenland. Are you also considering military force to annex and acquire Canada?
No, economic force. Because Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like.
And notice he has walked back this rhetoric, and when was the last time you heard about Panama and Greenland? This was all just a ploy to get us to the negotiating table. It's pretty obvious by now, and I can't believe Mark is still falling into this narrative.
Looks like.
Now, you think these so-called patriots would be calling this out. However, some of these organizers were actually on Trump's side, and even Tamara Lich went as far as to call out Poilievre for calling out Donald Trump. I'll show you a tweet right here. Trump wants our jobs? This is a disappointing take from you and your team. Trump wants border security to prevent drugs and terrorists from entering his country. You're starting to sound like the rest of them, and it's not a good look. Now,
Was she wrong, though? Because Pierre Poilievre was often criticized by his base for sounding too much like the Liberals. He was really backed into a corner on this, I got to admit, guys, but he never campaigned on making a deal with Trump or getting us to the negotiating table or suggesting anything different than Mark Carney. They sounded one and the same on this issue, guys. So, again, I don't see anything wrong with what Tamara said, but let me know what you think down in the comments.
Tamara Lich deleted this tweet. However, the internet is forever, so I still have a copy of it.
I love how he says the internet is forever and talking about deleted tweets. Well, I also have a deleted tweet, Mark. Just a little side note here, guys. So Mark got absolutely roasted on Twitter for putting this out. Pierre Poilievre still believes in the Canadian dream. Anyone that works hard can have a big chest, well-defined shoulders, chiseled abs, and a hot Venezuelan wife. Are you proud of Pierre Poilievre's work ethic? What is this, guys? Look at this. This is just creepy. We have an AI-generated picture of Pierre Poilievre wearing a cowboy hat, not wearing a shirt. Now, this tells you everything you need to know about Mark. He is Pierre Poilievre all the way, 100%. He seems to have an unhealthy obsession with the man. So, obviously, any criticism of Pierre Poilievre, whether it be from the left or the right, he doesn't appreciate. So he's not willing to hear any sort of valid criticism against Pierre Poilievre. It's not a good look, Mark. That's borderline creepy, dude.
If Lich was a patriot, then someone explain to me why she's standing up for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is lying. Canada is not a major exporter of fentanyl to the United States. Less than 1% of the fentanyl that gets into the United States comes from Canada.
Less than 1% of the fentanyl that the United States catches comes from Canada. Now, I would like to see an updated statistic reflecting on the fact that now that Donald Trump has secured the southern border, I would like to know how much of it is coming from Canada now.
Why is Lich not telling her followers this? Why is Lich not supporting Poilievre? Why is Lich not pointing out the fact that even though nobody likes Trudeau, he actually did take steps to secure the border, despite the fact that Canada is not a major exporter of fentanyl?
Tamara Lich does support Pierre Poilievre. She put out a very heartfelt tweet just the other day thanking him for his support. And as for Justin Trudeau securing the border, no, he didn't. He put a couple of helicopters in the sky and made empty promises to put money towards border security. But as of right now, nothing has been done. Now, as for Mark's point, this is the only valid thing that he has to say in this video. The fentanyl thing is largely bogus. It's just one of those issues that Donald Trump keeps moving the goalposts on, and fair enough. You know, it's quite obvious that the real issue that he has is supply management and our tariffs that we've had on the United States for years. The fentanyl thing is sort of bogus, so I will give him that. But as if it's not a concern, fentanyl is a huge concern in Canada. And I've said it before, guys, but we should be doing this for us, not because Donald Trump wants us to. It's a huge problem not for Americans, but for Canadians as well.
Now here's another tweet from Chris Barber, Tamara Lich's co-accused. Canadians are choosing Canadian first products. Great. But the fact that the government is removing things from the shelves to prevent you from making the decision. Yet another government overreach in effect. The control continues. The mind games continue. So let me get this straight.
Again, guys, what's wrong with what Chris is saying here? I mean, I'm a huge fan of voting with your wallet. I think that if you want to be elbows up and make a conscious decision about what you buy, all the power to you. That's your freedom as a consumer. What I do have a problem with is the government forcing anybody to go along with their boycott. And it's also pointless anyways, guys. Yeah, we've taken booze off of the shelves. That's great. You can't buy American whiskey. But notice they haven't taken citrus products off the shelves or pharmaceuticals. Why doesn't everybody be elbows up and stop taking their medication that was manufactured in the States? Why are we all complaining about it on American tech companies? It's all just empty gestures, guys.
A so-called patriot is complaining that the Canadian government took American products off the shelf during a trade war. If this guy was a patriot like he said he was, he'd be standing up for Canadians and telling Canadians to support other Canadians. You wouldn't be supporting Americans if you're a patriot. That is not what patriots do. I hate to say it, but that's not patriotic. And this just shows how hypocritical and two-faced these people are. When they're protesting downtown Ottawa, they're all patriotic. They love Canada. Then when Donald Trump starts a pointless trade war with us, they're on his side? What's going on here? The way I see it, this lack...
What's going on here? It doesn't seem evident to me that they are on Donald Trump's side. That's just the way you're framing it, man.
Patriotism is appalling. And it's ironic. The people that claim to be the most patriotic are actually acting the least patriotic. Now that was nail one. However, there was something else that came up that caused me to lose support of the movement. Now let's go back to April. At the end of April, Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative Party leader, suffered an embarrassing defeat. Not only did he lose the federal election, and the Liberals won a fourth term, Pierre Poilievre also lost his longtime seat in Carleton.
Now, Mark here is about to tell you that Pierre Poilievre lost his riding because he supported the Freedom Convoy, when that couldn't be further from the truth. The real reason Pierre Poilievre lost his riding is, well, the longest ballot committee certainly didn't help. But don't forget, guys, never forget this. The borders were gerrymandered. This is what it looked like in 2021, and 2025, it now includes the riding of Canada. So what he's saying here does not hold any water whatsoever.
Part of the reason is because voters thought he was too Trump-centric. Another part of the reason is because of the Freedom Convoy. Now, there's a lot of misinformation out there, but a lot of people in Ottawa are still very upset about the convoy. Yes, it might have happened for a reason. However, it hurt small businesses, and it really angered a lot of people. And at the very least, it was just bad optics.
I love how Mark is hitting every single liberal talking point about the Freedom Convoy that he possibly can. It's so hilarious to me how they're still going with the Freedom Convoy hurt small businesses in Ottawa, when the very thing they're protesting is 2 years of overreach that absolutely decimated small businesses across the country. Now, it wasn't so much the Freedom Convoy that hurt the small businesses, but it was the citizens of Ottawa themselves who decided to boycott businesses that supported them. Look at this, guys. Businesses alleged to support the Freedom Convoy protest face social media backlash. Posted Sunday on Instagram, a list of restaurants said to support the convoy of truckers and demonstrators protesting COVID mandates soon migrated to Twitter, accompanied by a suggestion that the listed businesses be boycotted. Now, I remember this like it was yesterday. I remember following the Freedom Convoy when it kicked off, and Reddit Ottawa was abuzz with businesses that were still open. It was a groupthink mentality, and any business that dared serve the protesters was publicly shunned and boycotted. And many of the businesses listed, guys, never recovered. absolutely ridiculous that he's going with this, guys.
Now, I don't really think that Poilievre was too Trump-centric. However, his followers and supporters constantly cheering on Trump certainly didn't help him. Now, that was it for me. After Poilievre lost his seat, that's when I decided I no longer support the Freedom Convoy. Sorry, that's the conclusion I've come to. I can no longer support the movement. Now, this whole movement seems to be based on two lies. The first lie is that the COVID vaccine was somehow dangerous. That is not true. COVID vaccines are safe and effective. The second...
Okay. The COVID vaccines were safe and effective. He's really going with this, guys. He was never an ally of the Freedom Convoy. Let's get that straight. Now, if he wants to say they're safe and effective, now I'll meet him halfway and I'll say that there certainly might have been an argument that it might have been worth it for people that were over 80 with several comorbidities. But to say something is safe and effective when it is proven to cause myocarditis in young people, a group that was never at risk for COVID to begin with, is absolutely egregious. And to say that it was safe and effective in February of 2022, let alone before that when they were mandating people to take this thing, there was no way they could have known that at the time. It blows my mind that he's going with this, guys. It's truly unbelievable.
second lie is that the people organizing and supporting the protest were somehow patriots. But that is also not true, as we've seen a lot of these people now support Donald Trump. So I truly believe the Canadian flag was simply just a prop. Now I truly believe if conservatives...
The Canadian flag is certainly a prop to all the elbows up people that just decided now to start flying it after years of going along with Justin Trudeau calling us a post-national state. The few Canada days in between the Freedom Convoy and now, you had people, the same people now, by the way, that are elbows up, saying they were boycotting Canada Day.
Ever want to win an election, they need to rebrand themselves. And that means moving away from the Freedom Convoy.
So there it is, guys. At the very end of the video, Mark reveals what his problem with the Freedom Convoy is. And that is, in his perception at least, Pierre Poilievre supporting the convoy is what hurt his chances of becoming Prime Minister. And to me, this just doesn't hold water. Mark here seems to think that the Conservatives can just win if they just be a little bit more liberal. But how exactly did that work out for Erin O'Toole exactly? If you guys remember, he was up against Justin Trudeau in 2021, and his performance was pretty dismal. And he was making sure to not rock the boat on COVID. And then Pierre Poilievre hit the scene, and he was standing up for the Freedom Convoy and calling out the COVID hysteria in Parliament, and that is what secured him the Conservative Party leadership. So, all in all, guys, I think this was a huge miss for Mark Slapinski, and I think he embarrassed himself pretty good on this one. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And as always, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Johnny from Nova Scotia says thank you. Hey, Johnny from Nouvelle-Écosse, il dit merci, thank you.
Thanks to you.
Thank you so much. Perfect. Yeah, Quebec.